Welcome to MarcusG.tv. I'm Chef Marcus Julian. I'm a chef on a mission. Today's mission is McDonald's. McDonald's is under some scrutiny lately because they have had to close stores, and I did a video on how they're closing stores across certain parts of the world. And the health ranger, Mike Adams, just did a story on McDonald's and their low wages that they're paying. So the title of his article is called "I'm Slaving It. McDonald's minimum wage crisis reaches tipping point as mass labor protests begin." After losing market share to more innovative restaurants that are dropping GMOs like Chipotle and toxic chemicals like Panera, McDonald's is about to be hit with a massive worker protest. McDonald's workers will gate crash the burger company's shareholder meeting later this month with the biggest protest ever, demanding an end to poverty wages paid to many of its 420,000 staff members, reports The Guardian. Workers are fed up with being paid wages so low that they have to live on food stamps and government assistance. They want McDonald's and other fast food corporations to raise their pay above the level of poverty, helping them live financially sustainable lives while serving genetically modified, chemical engineered food to customers. After all, don't we all deserve to make a living while we're engaged in the killing of customers with toxic food? So here's the problem. You know, I did a video on McDonald's and how they're closing restaurants and how they're just losing market share. McDonald's is an archaic way of eating. I'm not saying that people don't want it. A lot of people still do, but more and more as the food revolution is gaining grip and moving forward, people understand that they can go to other places and they can get better food. And places like Chipotle and Panera, which they're not perfect, but they're making steps in the right movement. I think just when you walk into Chipotle now, there's signs there that say, "We don't think that GMOs are safe and we're not going to serve them." And that's what the sign says. I got to tell you, I doubt that the majority of the people know what GMOs that are going to Chipotle. But Chipotle really came out and made that stance. Well, we know it's not natural, it's not good, and we're not going to serve it. So I think that just alone is a huge, massive movement, because it's exposing normal people, not normal people, it's exposing people that would never understand what GMOs are to say, hey, well, maybe they're not good because Chipotle's not serving them. You never really have companies that say that. I'm surprised that Monsanto hasn't gone after Chipotle for that, because they're basically saying, we don't know if they're safe, they're not safe, and we're not going to serve them. So I'm really surprised Monsanto really hasn't, or the GE companies, the biotech companies haven't really gone after them to make them remove that. I was really surprised to see that bold of a statement in Chipotle. And then now Panera, their CEO said they don't want chemicals in their food anymore. And I got to tell you, I did a project a few years ago, and I was looking through the binder at Panera, because you can go in there and request their ingredients, and they have a binder. It was a red binder, and I was going through and looking at the ingredients, and even something simple like the balsamic vinaigrette had chemicals in it. So I just felt there was no need for that. So I'm really glad to see that Panera is going chemical-free, toxic chemical-free. So that's phenomenal. So McDonald's has to understand that your system is archaic. The food you're offering, the prices you're offering, it's just a whole unsustainable system, and it's not working. Let's talk about restaurant labor. First of all, McDonald's labor is totally unskilled. Not saying that they're not good people, but it's an unskilled job description, because what's happening is the food is being produced in factories, and by the time it gets to McDonald's frontline workers, they're just assembly people. They're just assembling stuff. In my restaurant, now, I know that owning a restaurant is a very tough thing. It's not easy. It's not glorified. Most restaurateurs don't rake in the cash. Some restaurateurs do. They have great locations. They have great businesses. They're doing millions and millions in business. But for the average restaurateur, they're not raking it in. And people think, oh, because you own a restaurant, you're raking it in. And that's not the case. My single biggest expense in the restaurant industry is my labor. That is my labor. For every dollar that goes into my register, up to 40 cents of that dollar is going to pay labor. I'm not sure what it is at McDonald's. I'm sure it's far less, because McDonald's prides themselves on volume, okay? Volume after volume. That's why the sign says the billions and billions served. Well, they've literally served billions and billions of people, and they need high volume to make money on cheap and expensive food. Now, the whole system is screwed up, even for my restaurant, because you can only charge a certain amount for the food. Americans are not willing to pay more for food than other countries. That's a fact. I did a video on that last year where we are by far the cheapest nation when it comes to paying for food. We, as a percentage of our income, pay the least, about 6%. Other countries pay up to 20%, 30%. Of course, their wages are lower, but in proportion of their income, they're spending far more than us. So we can afford to spend 10% as opposed to 6%. Imagine that kind of an increase of expenditures in food in the US, what that could do as far as paying people more than minimum wage, about paying farmers more of a fair wage. They don't have to sell their farms to big corporations or to developers to develop other homes. I mean, we can make such huge advancements, but the system is being set up to fail right now. That's the problem. As the cheap food is on the market, the consumers will keep wanting the cheap food, and they'll keep supporting the unfair labor, the quote unquote slave labor, McSlavin labor that McDonald's and these other companies are doing. And it's a shame because we all deserve a right to make a living, and we all want jobs and we all want to work, but the system needs to stop at both ends. The consumer needs to realize that, hey, we need to pay more money for our food. Hey, and then the producers, the restaurants say, hey, we need to pay our labor more to make this work, to make this a whole, roundabout system where everybody's happy. Now, you always hear reports about Costco. He pays his staff great and this and that. I know some people come to the restaurant here that work at Costco and they love it. I know people that go to shop at Costco and they love it. They love the experience. I personally have only been in a Costco once. And Costco is very innovative with organic items and everything. But if Costco's doing it, why can't Sam's Club do it? And Sam's Club is Walmart. So if Sam's Club can do it, why can't Walmart do it? If Walmart can do it, why can't McDonald's do it? So there are companies out there that are saying, yes, our staff deserves to make more. And, here's the value of real food. So McDonald's is just such an archaic system. And here's the big problem. Now that Chipotle is GMO free, Chipotle has a story. Chipotle's always had a story, right? And they can charge more because, going back to the mushroom scenario, I don't negotiate with a farmer with anything I buy. If I can buy it, I buy it. If it's not part of my menu, then I just can't waste money on something. But if it's something I can use legitimately, I'll buy it. Now, my job as a restaurateur, as a chef, is to create the value in the story to the consumer. So I'll go to the consumer and say, hey, I just got these great mushrooms. They're from a farm down the road. I just got this great, whatever it is, beef, fish, chicken, eggs, broccoli, kale, whatever it is. I just got this from down the road. It's a great farm. We know them, this and that. So there's a connection. So now when you go into Chipotle, there's a connection. Well, I'm not poisoning my body with GMOs. So there's a story, but Chipotle's been great with stories from the beginning. And they're a fast food restaurant, but their prices aren't inexpensive. You walk in there and you pay $11 if you want to eat something, as opposed to walking to McDonald's for the dollar menu, right? So they have to have a story. McDonald's has no story. McDonald's has a clown. That's McDonald's story, is a clown. When you go to Chipotle, it's GMO free. We've been buying from this farm, from that farm. We buy organic stuff. We buy better quality pork. We buy better quality proteins, whatever. That's their story, and other places have done the same thing. And now Panera Bread is going to have a better story. Stories sell. Consumers can associate value with a story, and that's a proven fact. If you're in the marketing business, that's a proven fact. And again, McDonald's, their story, they have a clown. That's all that there is. But now there's all these other stories on the internet about them, about how they're just not doing well. And it's no wonder. So McDonald's whole system is archaic. Burger King, a lot of those fast food companies, I think they really need to say, hey, it's time for change. And consumers need to say, hey, I need to spend more on food. Food is the most important thing going into my body. Food is what nourishes me. It nourishes the earth, the environment. Because the cheaper the food you buy, the worse consequences it is on the environment. The more processing, the cheaper the food, the more the chemicals that go into the land. It's not the real value of food. And people just think, oh, I can get away with buying cheap food. And they don't understand the effects on their body, and they don't understand the effects on the environment. So I'm Chef Marcus Giuliano. Thanks for watching. Thanks for tuning in. What are some of your favorite healthier or better fast food options? List those in the comments below.